All right, and just so you guys know, nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else who helps with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. This is the nurse from last night, so let's get you in here. M, you are live on Marfoogle News. What is going on?
Hey, Mark, how are you?
Good. So, can you sum up last night what you said before?
I'm a travel RN in California, in Orange County in LA. So basically, I stay in Southern California, and I just bounce around to hospitals taking contracts in their ERs. Right. So to sum up yesterday, it was just, the fact that I was laid off from work after they were preparing for this big surge and the tents and, this huge pandemic emergency that we were going to have. We were setting up, 20, 30 beds in a tent because we were planning on being at max capacity in the hospital. When we've shut down floors, there's floors that are shut down. Nurses are furloughed, sent home. It's really odd that as an ER nurse, when you can really never predict anything, that they're sending ER nurses home. So,
okay. So,
but yeah, I think that like we talked about, I think it's something that you need to think about with the whole live exercise thing, and really what's the hidden agenda to it? What's the motive behind this?
What I want to explain is what she's talking about with this live exercise thing, and I did want to pull up, I want to see if I can find the original. Let's see here. I do want to play part of this. This is Chico and Debbie Jimenez, and it is pretty crazy to hear this part. I'm not necessarily playing this woman's full opinion, but I wanted to play the clip that I'm talking about.
That we had to live with. It worked under certain circumstances. Over
to FEMA when he signed the National Emergency Declaration.
And I watched this live.
We had some very old and obsolete rules.
Those old and obsolete rules are also known as the Constitution of the United States.
That we had to live with. It worked under certain circumstances, but not under mass circumstances.
Under mass has really empowered FEMA. Fast forward to April 10th, 2020. In plain words, it's been my great honor to have been their president. Past tense.
The American people have been so disciplined. It's been my honor to be their president. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'll say it always. It's been my great honor to have been their president, and it's been my great honor to have been their president. I have a big decision coming up, and I only hope to God that it's the right decision. But it'll be based on the input from a lot of very talented people, very smart people, and people that love our country. Thank you all very much.
Do you hear that? That's what brings me into the whole. I guess, what do you call it? The advisors part, right? Like I said, like there's advisors all around saying, hey, this is the right thing to do. Once he did do that signing, that power went over to FEMA. I'm gonna pull the nurse in over back in after this last part right here. This is kind of a freak.
Because he said you should have let us know when Mike Pompeo said we're in a live exercise.
This is a live exercise. And what you'll hear in the background is Donald Trump say, you should have let us know.
This is not about retribution. This matters going forward. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We need to make sure that we're in a live exercise here to get this right. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We're in a live exercise here to get this right.
Does he sound like a man that's in control of anything anymore? He just looks like he has just lost his best friend in all of these videos that we're seeing now ever since he signed the National Emergency Declaration. I'm sure most of us thought that FEMA was created to help people in disasters. But here's the truth about FEMA. FEMA was created in a series of executive orders. A presidential executive order, whether constitutional or not, becomes law simply by its publication in the Federal Registry. Congress is bypassed. Executive Order 12148 created the Federal Emergency Management Agency that is to interface with the Department of Defense for civil defense planning and funding. An emergency czar was appointed. Executive Order 12656 appointed the National Security Council as the principal body that should consider emergency powers. This allows the government to increase domestic intelligence and surveillance of U.S. citizens and would restrict the freedom of movement within the United States and grant the government the right to isolate large groups of civilians. That's where we're at right now, people. We are all being told what to do, where we can and can't go. The National Guard could be federalized to seal all borders and take control of U.S. airspace and all ports of entry. Executive Order 10990 allows the government to take over all modes of transportation and control of highways and seaports. Executive Order 10995 allows the government to seize and control the communications media. Executive Order 10997 allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, fuels, and minerals.
By the way, if they found fit, they could turn off the electricity. They could stop selling you gas. They could literally take over and say YouTube, all of these internets going to shut down, and they could literally lie to you and say it's confidential and tell you, oh, nope, we don't know what's going on, and we would lose everything all at once. But really, they could do absolutely anything right now. These are all executive orders that they added. They keep adding these too, which, by the way, these were not on the agenda. Like, this was super weird that they added all of these there was no reason, right? There was no, oh, here's a problem we just had. We need a solution, so we need a new bill because we just had that problem. These were things like thinking about way down the road, or hey, we should add this in there too. It wasn't because, oh, well, during this thing we didn't have control of the gas and that's what happened. It was Obama's, it was Bush's, it was before that. I mean, like, these got added in. It was almost like they had to do one little thing at a time. And during Obama's, it was like boom, 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 boom. It was like pew, pew, pew. We're going to shoot some executive orders. He put a ton in. So I'm going to bring our nurse back, which I got to remind you, she essentially had, gotten laid off. But on top of that, she has some weird things that happened over that. You're back in. I pulled you back in here. So as far as like the nursing and all of the weird things that were going on, let them know why they did that again. Again, it sounds like your coworker actually was tested positive for B.
Right. So they tested positive, and the day that they found out that they were positive, it was almost, a few hours later that they called me and they said, instead of your contract ending at this point, it's going to be ended immediately today. So that was really weird. And, I was never notified. Like, that should be a right of a nurse that if you come in contact with somebody that's positive, whether it's a coworker or a patient, that you should be notified. But I think it was a liability thing, maybe me being a traveler and not part of staff. I don't know. But, I still to this day have not been notified. It's been 2 or 3 days now. So, but those two or 3 days, if I had elderly family members, I could, I should, and
it was empty.
I want to bring that around them.
The hospital was empty though too, right?
Oh yeah, completely empty. So that's another thing. We went from seeing 150 to 200, sometimes even 250 patients during the flu season, down to sometimes only a couple, 2, 3, 4 at night at the most. Sometimes we would be completely empty in the ER these past couple weeks. So they, They said that they were sending me home due to low census. That was their reasoning.
Wow, that's absolutely nuts what is going on.
The live exercise thing, I mean, if you remember they did the whole Arizona FEMA tents. Like, we thought that maybe that was about the whole Cascadia event thing. And then they had the whole Event 201. And then they had the moving of the military and the vehicles and the Coast Guard. And when you brought up the point about, saying that he was on the side of the stand and basically told them, why didn't you tell us? And you're right. There really is two options involved in it, or basically he was tricked and nobody knows. And I think they're throwing out all of these options to kind of confuse us and cause all of this fear and panic. And, the media is involved. There's not all these people dying. There's not all of these people in the hospitals. I mean, people who aren't in the medical field, it's causing even more panic. And we have to ask ourselves, like, what's the main motive? Like, what is the objective of all of this? And, the whole marking everybody as a patient when they pass away in the ER and you don't know why, it's because, everything is money driven. It's all money driven. So when you mark a patient, the state reimburses the hospital money for that. So I think that's one of the reasons. But I mean, the fear and everything, it's taking away everybody's personal rights. I mean, slowly at a time, it's decreasing all of our support systems. We don't, completely crashing our economic system. And I think it's very odd that they're making nurses and doctors and they're making them, these big heroes. And, I'm not discrediting what any of us in the medical field do, but we do it every day. We're constantly exposed to, the flu or active shooters in the ER or psychiatric and physical abuse. But now all of a sudden we're made up to be these big heroes because I think that they're trying to push the and they're idolizing us now. Like, everybody else is in fear, but they want you to put your trust in us and say, basically, we had your back for this, take this, you can trust us, we're heroes, take this. You know what I mean? So I think that there's a lot more to this. There could be stuff going on in the background, of course. And like you said, it's important for people to really be open-minded. And if they really want to be prepared, they have to consider all of these different options. So they're not that person that says, oh, I can't believe this happened to me.
I agree with you, and I think that you are absolutely right on the fact that we need to be open-minded and we need to stop arguing about what is actually happening and understand that this is not going to get anywhere if we are stuck arguing with each other down here. We need to be looking up and saying, what the hell is going on? Like I said, we need to be contacting our local governments and saying, we want the truth. We want any little piece of knowledge because this is way beyond it. This is life-changing for everyone on the planet right now. So I don't understand it. Somebody else said COVID tyranny. What do you think about them saying it's COVID tyranny? As far as, do you think that this is a tyrannical government taking over, or do you think we're about to either way, or getting prepared to?
I think it could be both. I think it could be both. But the thing is I think that, and I don't want to I'm not a very big political person, but we're walking on China. We owe them tons of money, and 90% of the medications in the U.S. are made. We get all of our medications from there, and we don't have the factories and the ability to make all of those medications here on a whim if something were to happen. And then we would be, that would crumble the economy even more. So I don't know.
I want to ask you one more last question. Do you feel as a nurse, how weird is it that they're laying off these people? Do you believe that COVID is worth shutting down our country and keeping it shut down right now?
My personal opinion?
Yeah, well, and let me add one more part to that. Have you personally dealt with somebody with COVID?
Yes.
Should we be shut down from this?
Do I think that? No, I mean, you've got people, there's more people dying from the flu. I mean, they're not basing this on, solid evidence-based data. They're doing it off of, the media is making a big, huge deal out of this, and they're focusing on one little area. There's more people that are dying from the flu, or, 7,000 people die a day from regular things, It's not, how many people do you see really? I haven't seen many that's their specific reason. COVID with it. There's usually underlying things, but they're not talking about like the suicide rates going up and stress and anxiety and heart attacks because people are really freaking out about this. So, but for them to be sending all of these nurses home, no, I don't think that's right, because I guess it could be because we don't have anybody there. When we had the tents and I was working out in the tents, the people would drive up and they would see us like gowned up and have like the shield and everything. And they're like, it's really not that much of an emergency, and pull right back out. So, I think a lot of people are just scared.
I
think that people who really do come in for the emergency, they wait till the last second.
Well, so
and I think that's what's happening. But I don't think that.
It looks like we have a really bad delay. But we do need to get on to the next caller. I wanted to bring you back to make sure that we say it looks like this is a live exercise, like they are practicing for something, and it really is starting to look more and more apparent, like they are preparing they wanted to see that they could put the entire country in lockdown for something that is coming. They wanted to practice first. They said, well, it's not actually happening now. Can we do this? Because they have ultimate power right now to do, though. So.
Well, the scary thing is that healthcare would not be ready for anything like it really did come. Obviously you see, and if that was real footage in Italy, they're not ready for it. A lot of times management at these hospitals here are like a deer in headlights, and the policies are changing every single day because they don't have a clue what the heck is going on. So, if a major disaster did happen, like an earthquake or something, we really wouldn't be prepared. And I haven't heard too much about the USS Mercy, or if anybody has even been on that ship at all, if people are actually being cared for on there. So I'm not really sure about what's going on with that. I applied actually to volunteer to work on it, and they denied me because I was basically a civilian. So.
Wow. Well,
I don't know what the deal is with that.